All right, Voncast show. Today I have Thinh with me. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. So today we're going to talk about an event coming up next Friday, I believe. Which one is it?
Yes, it's called Vietnamese Culture Night at CSUN.
All right. What is your role in... well, first, this is put on by VSA.
Yes.
What is VSA?
VSA stands for the Vietnamese Student Association. Basically, since CSUN doesn't have a Vietnamese class or Vietnamese program on campus, so VSA is one of like the main program, technically a program, but in a sense a club that we try to reserve and we try to give people the Vietnamese culture that's been lacking on campus. Because I know that like CSUN have a lot of classes, Japanese classes, Korean classes, Chinese classes, and like a lot of professors have Filipinos, so like they talk about the Filipinos culture a lot. I took Asian American class, so I know, but no one talk about Vietnamese culture.
Yeah, I mean, there's immigration does a little bit.
Yeah.
And Professor Masakizme talks about it sometimes in her class. But cool. So what is VCN?
VCN stand for the Vietnamese Culture Night. It's basically a theatrical show that we host every year. Usually during the spring, sometimes in March, sometimes majority of the time it's in April. But this year it's kind of early because like we couldn't book the theater beforehand. But it's a culture show. It's a theatrical. We have dancing, singing, acting, and mainly it has one man story. So this year's story is about the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Because I wanna let me introduce myself first. Right. I'm the director and writer for the Vietnamese Culture Night.
Okay.
And this year, the reason why I want to bring back the Vietnamese War, because like not a lot of history, like we know about it in history book, but we don't know about it from the Vietnamese side.
Real right.
You
yes.
know?
Yes.
So I heard a lot of story from my grandparents when I was a kid growing up, and I think that it's. And then I went through, I came in when I was 16, so I went through like 15 years of history in Vietnam. So I learned a lot of like different aspects of the history. And I kind of want to tell people that, because like not a lot of people have the history that American tell, you know, like they're not happy with the history that American people tell.
So I guess from your point of view, when you lived in Vietnam, was it a good thing? Well, like, I mean, not a good thing or bad thing. How was it different from how the American perspective views Vietnam War?
Because you know how like for the American view of Vietnam War, there's like the sense of, for the American, I'm not speaking for all the Americans, but from what I learned from the history book, it's like the sense of justice that American, like you have to like stop the communism, you have to stop the communist people or the communism to spread. But growing up in Vietnam, communism has never been a problem for me. Because like for people in Vietnam, like I'm not talking like I'm supporting communism whatsoever.
Right. But it's your perspective, your experience growing up.
Yeah, like growing up in a country, people like American people, they say, "Oh, Vietnam is like third world country. They don't have this, they don't have that." Yes, we don't have a lot of things, but at the same time, because I was born and I was raised in it, so I don't feel that sense of like, oh yeah, I don't have those things, you know. So I think for the Vietnamese people that live in Vietnam right now, or the people that went through the war on the communist side, or the people that went through the war on even a neutral side and they cannot escape the country, they just have to live with it. And then eventually it's become a norm, like become a thing that they used to. They don't feel it different.
Right. Okay, so you're saying you wrote the script. What is it about this year? I know last year it was, I was part of it.
Yeah.
What's this year's script about?
So this year's script is about let me think about it. Let me like rephrase it a bit. So it's a love story.
Okay.
So it's a love story that takes place in 1968 during one of like the critical point in the Vietnam War, and a lot of the script are based off one of my great uncle, because like he told me a lot of his story about like how he dated people and stuff like that, and also the script is mainly talking about the social injustice, because I've been to a lot of VCN around SoCal, and a lot of people just tell a story about how the students struggle with their parents and like try to like connect with their culture, but no one really talk about what happened to their parents, the one that escaped Vietnam to come here, what happened to the generation before their parents, the grandpas or the grandmas who never got a chance to escape Vietnam and they're just living there because they accept what they have, you know, even though they're not this like for the one that support the American Army or the one that not supporting anyone. It's just a neutral side. And I kind of want to bring that perspective to life and adding the love story to have a little feeling to it. But yeah, the whole story is about how a young farmer who was discriminated by the rich, but he fall in love for a rich girl.
Okay.
Yeah, a girl that is one of the richest family in the village, but because of his position and his social status, yeah, he couldn't get to the girl, and the whole show is about how their life happened to like get together in a sense.
Is this based on a true story? Is this fiction, or is it kind of both?
It's kind of both. Like a lot of things that I wrote based on my family story, and a lot of story that in there basically just, I mean, when I thought about it, I wrote it out.
How does your family feel about sharing part of their story into a play, or do they not really care? Or
They
okay with it?
they honestly they don't. When I asked about questions, and they're just very happy telling me that because they know that I like writing scripts, and I mean if they can give me some inspiration, it's good. It's not like I'm putting their story into it, but I get inspired by the story.
Okay. So I noticed that this year VCN starts a lot earlier. Last year it started a little after. Was it after spring break or before spring break? After, right?
After spring break.
So it's next Friday. When did you start preparing?
Actually, VCN is a long process. So like I started coming up with the idea for the script since summer.
Wow.
Like August-ish, I started having an idea of what I want to write about because like throughout the summer I watched a lot of TV shows, I watched a lot of movies, and then kind of like get inspiration from those.
Right.
And then once I get the final like the concept in mind, and I just start writing it down for like, yeah, this is what it's gonna be, and I know that from the start it's gonna be a love story, and then adding all the Vietnamese like love story in the Vietnam War, and then adding all the aspect of it like later on. I'm adding detail into it as time goes on. And I booked the theater since like October, so I started pretty early.
So what's the process of that? There's different parts, obviously, like the dancing and and like the actors. Are you in charge of all this, or do other people work on different parts like the dancing and whatnot?
I don't work on dancing and stuff like that, so I don't know how to dance. So I usually hit up people who can coordinate dances. And this year I'm more like for the modern dance team, like we are very fortunate to have Henry and his friends to coordinate the modern dance. And also we have our modern dance are made up by a lot of like people that are not in VSA, especially shout out to Casa, because like Casa has a lot of members on our modern dance team, and they competed for that festival last weekend, and they're gonna be in VCN. They're gonna compete again for one of the events that CPP VSA is hosting.
Very cool. All right, so what can we expect in this year's VCN? I mean, what's to look out for?
To be honest, like all of my VCN has always been about some social injustice, and a lot of my VCN, like 2 years ago, I wrote about a gay couple, and in Asian Americans' point of view, and then last year I wrote about just like family issues, but a lot of our life has always been this generation. People has been really busy. Social media is everywhere, and like that's even though the family is together, but technically they're not. You know, like there's a lot of problem happening because misunderstanding between the parents and the kids. That's what the story last year was mainly about. And this year, I don't think, in terms of expectation, when people come out to the VCN, honestly, all I want them to expect, or like, I think like the only thing that audience would expect from me is a good show, because that's all I want the audience to have. Because the story might be a bit different because I'm not telling a story from just Vietnamese American point of view, because I feel like that story had been told too much in terms of the student in college. I'm like, yeah, I struggle telling my parents this is not my culture, etc. So I want to bring it back 2 generations and kind of show that perspective of how people live and how people struggle to go through the social injustice back then, especially in a country like Vietnam.
Okay, cool. So what is VCN? What time, day, where is it at on campus?
VCN is on March 2nd, and the show started 6:30, but the door opened at 5:30.
Okay.
It's an hour before the show, and it's gonna end around like 9:30. So that's we have a lot of performers in there. Like we have pre-show, we have Audio Mind, Project DM, and we have like Tycho performing for us for our part of our pre-show and intermission, like post-intermission. And location is gonna be in the Plaza del Sol. So if you're a CSUN student, it's right, like you know where the Plaza del Sol is. It's one of the big stairs that next to the ticket booth and right across.
Is that where it was last year?
Yeah, it's the same place last year.
All right.
But like for those who don't know, well, for those who are not CSUN student, then you have to like park at the parking lot G3, drive across from Zelza, and then go inside the parking lot, park there, and then walk to the gym, and just walk straight down to the left, and then you see that big stair going up. That's the performance hall.
Very cool. Is it free?
Yes, the show is completely free. You don't have to pay for anything. There's gonna be a free photo booth there.
Wow.
We got sponsored by one of my VSA alumni. One of my friend. She working for like a photo booth company, and they give me like photo booth for weddings and stuff like that. And they giving us like really cool photo booth, so you can take pictures of family, friends.
Nice. Do you need to reserve tickets ahead of time, or?
Yes, ticket is limited.
Okay.
Because we only want the theater can house up to 450 people, but we only want to take in 400 audience because we don't want it to be too rowdy. And to reserve tickets, you can either go on the event page. It's called CSUN. If you look on Facebook, it's CSUN VSA.
Okay.
5th Annual Vietnamese Culture Night, and then the web call list is under discussions on the event page, or those that is around campus, they can get a ticket from the ticket booth. Just tell them that, hey, I'm a CSUN student, and I'm picking up a ticket for the Vietnamese Culture Night on March 2nd in the Plaza del Sol, and at the ticket booth, people will give you a ticket.
Cool. I'll also put a link here. All right. Anyone else you want to shout out in VCN, or anyone who's also helping you out? Anyone you want to?
I think I shout out for Henry before, but yeah, I'm gonna shout out for Henry again for Modern Dance. I want to shout out to all my cast and crew. It's been really amazing, and I want to shout out to my board. I've been really supportive toward VCN. And I want to shout out to our sponsors, like the photo booth, the photo booth. Make it. I think the name of the company is Make It Happen. So Make It Happen Photo Booth Company, and I want to shout out to our big sponsors on campus, like the union of the student, the student union, the USU, University Student Union, AS Associate Student, and the union of the Vietnamese Student Association in SoCal, in Garden Grove.
Awesome. Well, one more question, man. What's your favorite boba place out here?
Man, want to start a war, man? It's Bon, of course.
Okay, I just want to know. I'm just wondering, man. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Take care.
Yeah.
All right, Voncast show. Yeah, check out VCN next Friday. Free event. Check it out.
Free event.